excellent video about this issue that you should also check out in the description. A non-profit Christian ministry called Personhood USA is trying to campaign for this across the United States, as well as in Mississippi, and with other organizations and representatives in Mississippi who are in support of this initiative, to define a person as any fertilized egg. A microscopic zygote that is going through the process of meiosis has the same exact legal rights as a born human being.
This is Congressman Stephen Palazzo. Since the Supreme Court issued its Roe v. Wade decision in January 1973, our nation has lost 53 million children to abortion. This is an example of modern-day genocide. Pro-life Americans have fought boldly to reverse this tragic decision and to end legalized abortion. Although this message has reached many, losses continue to mount. A staggering 1.3 million lives are estimated to be lost each year. The Founding Fathers understood that the right to life was an unchallengeable right given by our Creator, and it included this essential idea in both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. They also understood that every unborn child is a person just like you and me. I am a proud original petitioner of Mississippi's ballot initiative number 26, and in Congress I am a co-sponsor of H.R. 374, the Life at Conception Act, which declares that the right to life guaranteed by the Constitution is vested in each human being at the moment of conception. You have an opportunity in Mississippi to make a similar commitment on November 8th. Vote for life, vote yes on 26.
The most disturbing thing about this whole situation is the fact that the initiative is actually gaining ground in polls, and it is likely that it will be voted for. That means that a woman at the moment of conception, if she has an abortion, her and her abortion accomplices will be placed on trial for the murder of a complete person and be put in prison for murdering a microscopic zygote. Tell me, if a person is a person at the moment of conception, should a woman then be prosecuted for child endangerment if she drinks caffeine or smokes while she's pregnant? Think about it. Mississippi for Healthy Families did point out that if you have a miscarriage, you will not be prosecuted. But then Arsenic Cigarettes pointed out a very good point indeed, and that is, if a woman does have a miscarriage, will she have to prove that she had a miscarriage and that she didn't murder? You guys don't even understand what kind of unintended consequences and complications this brings up if you actually make this law. Not to mention that this initiative will ban all abortions, even in the cases of incest or rape, which is extremely detrimental. I guess this just continues the whole entire debate back to square one about what makes a person a person. I sometimes just look around me at my country and I just feel like just when we've taken a huge step forward, we're simultaneously taking another huge step back with something different. This is what I don't want for women in America. Basically what I'm saying is I think that it is extremely asinine to suggest that a small little fertilized egg, even a couple of days old, has the full legal rights of a born human being. You sit there and you defend a microscopic fertilized egg that doesn't even have a brain yet, but you refuse to allow gay people to get married. Again, this whole thing goes along with the mentality that states should decide whether to grant women rights they should already have in the first place, not the federal government, which is exactly what Ron Paul and his boner supporters seem to be perfectly okay with, which is why I am annoyed by Ron Paul and a lot of his supporters. A lot of his supporters are willing to sacrifice their precious philosophy of individual liberty and body autonomy for the sake of ending wars and ending the Federal Reserve. They say Ron Paul is the candidate, when you have to actually sit and ask yourself, what is more important? Well, I'm the type of person who hates going to the voting booth, having to play eeny, meeny, miny, moe on what is most important to me. I will not sit and vote for a candidate who is the lesser of a few evils just because I agree with most of what he says. Women who live in states that ban abortion completely like this will be greatly inconvenienced, while the economy of coat hangers will rise. What's amazing is that people who question the very principle of democracy and recognize the tyranny of the majority are willing to put a woman's right to choose up to a fucking vote. Fuck you, Ron Paul, and your douchebag supporters. To conservative Christians who accused Planned Parenthood of being a business that makes money, why don't we go examine how much money churches make in the United States and how much of that money doesn't go to taxes? Religion in itself is a business and has been for thousands of years, and it will remain a business. But wait, they are spreading the word of God, so it's okay, right? Yeah, right. Let me ask you a question. Do you consider a fetus or zygote to be a full-fledged human being deserving the rights of a born human being? If you have answered yes to that question, what about rape, incest, or the mother's life? If you're a person who sits there and says, I'm against abortion, but except for rape or incest or the mother's life, you are a hypocrite. Why are you sitting there and accusing people of murdering actual human beings in the womb when you're going to sit there and allow human beings to be murdered because of rape or incest or the mother's life? You're sitting there and you're judging other people for being for abortion when you yourself are for abortion except in certain cases. Another one of those things, you're like, well, you can murder people except for rape or incest or the mother's life. And you act like that makes you better. That makes you in a better situation. You act like pro-choicers are supposed to sit there and applaud your hypocrisy and say, oh, okay, that's good. At least you're for rape or incest or the mother's life. At least that. No, I don't applaud you whatsoever because your logic is completely hypocritical. Do you think that a fetus is a human being or not? You're either pro-choice or anti-choice. If you think that a fetus is a human being, alright, a human being, but then you're for abortion in cases of rape, incest, or the mother's life, you are a hypocrite because you think that it is okay to murder a life except in certain situations using your own logic. It really makes me mad when people sit and say that in the Western world we don't need to be talking about women's rights. Yeah, it is really bad in other countries, and I completely am for women's rights in other countries. I've talked about Muslim women's rights, I've talked about African women's rights before. I am completely for women's rights around the world.